What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Talking Halos. I'm your host today, Jared Timms, and I'm joined alongside my co-host, my partner in crime, Nate Green. Nate, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Jared. How about you?
I'm not doing too bad. Excited to talk a little bit of Angels baseball. Of course, Nate, you know what we're talking about tonight?
No, not a
No,
clue.
you do not. You never do, because I don't tell you. I throw you to the wolves here. And I
Yes.
promise you, I don't think Nate can be negative tonight. Actually,
Wow.
we will see.
You threw me under the bus early tonight. Wow.
I did.
Okay.
Before we get going, guys, as always, thank you so much for listening to this podcast here at Talking Halos, again, making us one of the best Angels podcasts out there. I do really appreciate it. You could go ahead and check us out on talkinghalos.com. If you are looking for a fantasy baseball league, I'll say it up front right now, say it a couple times here in the next couple weeks. Shoot us an email. Go on to talkinghalos.com. There's a little questionnaire button down at the bottom. Send us an email. It goes straight to the CEO, the president of Talking Halos, Derek Ciapala. We're going to be running some fantasy baseball leagues and have a little bit of fun with stuff. Last time we did it, I know, Derek, we had a lot of fun giveaways. I think we had some ticket giveaways, some bobbleheads, some autographs, a whole bunch of fun stuff as far as that goes. So don't miss out on that if you're listening to us again. TalkingHalos.com, go check it out. Shoot us a message, say you want to be part of the fantasy baseball league. I'm sure Derek's already gotten a whole bunch of emails, but if you haven't already, go shoot him an email. You can play against some legends here, myself and Nate. Honestly, we're really good at fantasy baseball. All fantasy sports are pretty good at it. Not even like gloat or anything like that, but absolute blast. Nate, don't even like try to hide it. You know we are like yeah. So as far as that goes, check us out. You can follow us on all our social medias. Just got Talking Halos. Question for you guys beforehand, though. I like asking you guys questions. And this is going to go for you, Nate, as well. The MLB Network just came out with the top 100 top center fielders in baseball. Mike Trout's obviously number one. With that being said, do you think the Angels lacked in the offensive department in Mike Trout's younger years, which actually might have cost them going to the playoffs? You get where I'm going with this one? The Mike Trout effect?
I think so.
And I think we're going to dive into the Shohei Ohtani effect as well.
Okay.
So with that being said, I mean, think about the Shohei Ohtani effect. We'll kind of break down what that is. We'll kind of break down what it is. But first, of course, go follow us on all our social medias. Shoot us a message. Follow myself on Twitter, Jared_Timms, Nate at NateGreen34. Let's get it going here, Nate. Let's talk Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani effect. As weird as this sounds, statistically speaking, it actually makes the Angels worse. Statistically speaking, right? And you can't look at the Angels as a whole, from offensive productivity or now pitching productivity because of how good Shohei Ohtani is. You can do this with certain guys around baseball. In fact, I don't think you can do it with the pitching side of stuff with the Angels. I think in whole you can do it with Shohei Ohtani, but without a doubt, Mike Trout, you can do this with the Mike Trout effect because Mike Trout is so good at baseball, right? And I was just kind of sitting there thinking about it, and something we've never really talked about on air. We talked about it off the air with how good Mike Trout's stats are. He is, 190 WRC plus guy, 170, which is so much better than everybody else, so much better on his team. It bolsters the Angels in itself on the stat category, and it makes, I think, a lot of people think that the Angels don't need certain things in the lineup. And I think you can look at that in the Mike Trout and in the Shohei Ohtani side of stuff too. Like, you look at the Angels last year with pitching. The Angels had a very good pitching staff, but Shohei Ohtani was so good that it bolstered it up. Is that fair to say as well?
Yeah.
So
talk about the Mike Trout thing. It's not for lack of trying, honestly, with what happened. I think the Angels tried to surround themselves with some good offensive pieces. They might have spent some money, probably not in the right way, but they were trying to surround him. Like Albert Pujols, at the time, the Angels thought that they were getting, a guy who was going to put up pretty good offensive numbers. At least, his first couple of years, it was like, hey, not what we're paying him for, but like, You were
Productive.
paying, yeah, he was productive, but they were hoping he was going to be hitting about 290 to 300 with 30 to 40 home runs, and he was mostly that 250 hitter with 30 home runs, and it was like, okay, so like they tried. And then you look at Josh Hamilton; he was kind of one of those guys as well. He didn't really hit as well as the Angels had thought. And then you go around the diamond and you look, and it's like the Angels really have never had a bunch of good hitters. Like you look at the Yankees when the Yankees are healthy, and I know I bring up the Yankees a lot, but they're in the
Last
playoffs every year.
last
So
year's a perfect example of this, right? Like
uh,
the Yankees, statistically speaking, had one of the better offenses in baseball. When you look at it in a whole, I would assume they're in the top
they
half.
were really bad.
But yeah, one
They
through
were really
eight
bad.
or 2 through 8 were really bad, and Aaron Judge was just so much better than everybody else that it makes
Yeah,
their stats look better.
it did make them look a lot better. But yeah, you look at what the Angels had, and it was like, well, is Andrelton Simmons a good hitter? No. But like, were people talking him up to be a really good hitter because he was like the third or fourth best hitter on the Angels? Like, yes, and that was 100% happening. Um, is David Fletcher like a really big offensive guy? Like, no, he does a lot of things really well. He does a lot of things good enough. But he's not the offensive threat where you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to hit, 330 and, he might hit 20 bombs. He's going to steal 20 bags or whatever. Like, that has been the biggest thing. And that's why I was preaching going into last year saying the Angels don't have enough offense. Like, I remember when we were on the phone and I said, bro, the Angels don't have enough offense. And you were like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, look at what they have. And I was like, yes, it's the first three hitters and that's it. And then we started to really dive into it, and it was like, oh my gosh, like this lineup is really bad. And then you get your one or two injuries, and it looks even worse because you're running Matt Duffy out there on opening day and as your cleanup hitter, and it just spiraled out of control. The more injuries and the deeper we got into the season. So I do think that the Angels have had this kind of thing where everyone's like, "Oh, the Angels' offense is good," and it's like, honestly, like Mike Trout is the Angels' offense, and that's kind of what it's been for a long time. And now that Shohei Ohtani's here, he's kind of picking up where, um, I would say he's kind of really picking up where Albert Pujols left off, like when he had those 2 or 3 really good years. Not quite as high as average as you would like. The on base percentage is okay, not where you would like it. I'm not saying that it's not where you want it, but like you when you signed Albert Pujols, you were hoping for like a 950 to 1,000 OPS. And same thing, you're hoping Ohtani puts up a 900 OPS. He's right around that 850 to 900, which is good, but it's nowhere close to what Mike Trout does every single year. And so you look at those two guys and what the Angels have done for the last 8 years, 10 years with Mike Trout, and it's like, are they actually good at hitting? Or is there one guy who has just carried the load so much that it looks really good? And the other thing too is like you can look at Mike Trout's numbers and be like, okay, yeah, like they're stupid. But then you also look at the guy who's hitting behind Mike Trout and how much he helps that guy. Whoever it is, whenever Mike Trout is healthy in his in his younger years when he was 25, 26 and playing 160 games or whatever it was, you look at when Pujols was hitting behind him. Like Pujols had a terrible year, still had 100 plus RBIs because Mike Trout was getting on base all the time and making it the guys in front of Mike Trout, the guys behind Mike Trout. It was just helping the lineup, but they didn't have good hitters. Like you looked at WRC plus at the end of the year, you looked at on base percentage, OPS and OPS plus, and you start looking at all like the the big numbers that are a big deal right now, and it's like Andrelton Simmons was a 101 WRC plus, so he's 1% better than average. And it was like, oh man, he had a great year. And I was like, sure, I guess. Same thing with like Pujols. You would look and people are like, man, this is not what we're paying Pujols for. He throws up a 105 WRC plus, and people are like, yeah, that still sucks. And it's like, yes, it probably does because we're hoping for a 125, 130 because we paid him $30 million. So I do think this is a real thing. It is part of what I've brought up with you off the air, talking about Shohei Ohtani and pitching thing. Everyone wants to point out like what a good staff the Angels had last year, and it's like the Angels had a really good staff. Tawny's numbers were so good that it makes the Angels like I think the Angels were third in the American League at pitching, if I remember correctly, or fourth.
With an ERA.
Yeah, yeah, ERA, and then I think even like K per nine. Like they were in the top 5 in a lot of pitching categories last year, and it was predominantly because Shohei Ohtani was in the top 2 in most of those pitching categories. And the only thing the Angels weren't, and it was starting pitching categories. And the other thing I'll bring up with the starting pitching, we didn't throw that many innings at the starters. Like our bullpen threw a lot of innings. Just because, like, yeah, Shohei Ohtani threw 167, 165 innings. I'm blanking on off the top of my head, but he threw a couple innings over 162 because that was the number he was trying to hit to become
70 or something like that.
162 is the number to make sure that he is allowed to be on all leaderboards. So that's all he was trying to get to. And you look at it, it's like, okay, like, yeah, he had a really good year. And then you look and it's like, Lorenzen was pretty average. Like, I wouldn't say he was bad, but I wouldn't say he was good. Like, he just kind of knew what you were getting out of him. He was going to go out there and go compete for about 6 innings. He was going to give about 3 or 4 runs and just keep you in the ballgame. I think Noah Syndergaard was one of the most underrated pitchers when it comes to numbers. Yes, he killed the strikeout numbers because he didn't really strike too many guys out. But for the most part, if he got past the 2nd inning, he was going 6 innings and giving up 3 runs every single time. Like, that's what it felt like. I know if you'll check the numbers, and he had a game where he went 1 inning, he gave up like 7 or 8 runs against the Yankees, and you'll be like, man, no, Syndergaard didn't.
Lorenzen felt that way too. It was like if he got past the 2nd inning, then it was like this guy's going to be lights out.
He goes about 6 or 7 innings, gives about 3 or 4 runs. It's like, hey, he kept us in the game.
Yep.
And then Sandoval, kind of similar, where he didn't really throw that many innings. Like it was about 165 innings again. And I know that's part of the 6-man rotation, which doesn't help when trying to go into it. But like when you really got past July and you looked at the rotation and how they were pitching, Detmers took a huge step up, right? Like his numbers, 3.45, I think it was, or 3.44. So he really got a lot better from where he started. Sandoval, he threw the ball well. I think it was something that we talked about before the year as well. Sandoval had a shot to win Cy Young, but the biggest concern for us was, is he going to throw enough innings? And it's really hard to throw enough innings to win a Cy Young in a 6-man rotation. But then you look at Lorenzen goes down, Thor gets traded, and the Angels rotation was Suarez, who was, he had his
good at the end of the year.
You can go, yeah.
He was good. He was
Sure.
putting up good numbers. We already went over this.
Yeah, he was putting up great numbers in 4 1/3 or whatever. He was doing the Andrew Heaney thing.
Not good into.
He was doing the Andrew Heaney thing. It's fine. But then you look, Tucker Davidson was making starts. Chase Silseth, like he had 1 or 2 electric starts where I was like, hey, this guy could be really freaking good. And then he just got pounded for three starts. And I was like, ooh, okay, he's not quite ready. Like he's going to be good, but he's not quite ready.
Yeah.
Tucker Davidson, like, just never really found a rhythm. So they were running out guys. Tuki Toussaint, like he was just kind of average. Like they didn't have enough depth to get through that kind of season, especially knowing that they were going to trade Noah Syndergaard and lose Michael Lorenzen. Like they just didn't have enough. Luckily, we picked up Tuki Toussaint on the waivers. We were able to get Tucker Davidson, even though, my opinion on him is kind of equal to Jose Suarez. But yeah, it really does.
If Tucker Davidson is Jose Suarez, you got yourself a good starter.
Quiet.
Good 6th starter.
Sure, if you want to be the Kansas City Royals and finish with 85 losses, that's fine. If that's what you're shooting for, that's fine. I want to win playoff games, so that's not my 6th starter. But if you want to finish in 4th place, then yeah, go ahead, run that out there. But yeah, it really is interesting to look at how much one guy can really change an offense, and I think we saw it last year with the Yankees and Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge was so good. Like he was getting on base all the time. He was hitting home runs. He was driving in runs. He was just doing everything possible for that offense, and everyone's like, "Oh, this Yankee offense is really good." And if you looked at their lineup in August, it was pretty similar to the Angels lineup. Like Benintendi was hurt. They were running Aaron Hicks out there, who was
Not a
hitting.
good hitter.
He was hitting like maybe a little better than Andrew Velasquez.
Buck 80,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, Carpenter was hurt, who had gone on that stupid run. Gleyber Torres was like one of their. You could equate him to kind of what Taylor Ward
Taylor
did
Ward.
last year,
Yep.
where it was like, hey, he put up a really good year. LeMahieu was hurt at that time. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa was starting every day at that time still. He was hitting about Andrew Velasquez numbers. Whoever we were running in at third, like you can equate that to their center field option. Like they had a time where they were missing like Rizzo, Stanton, Benintendi, LeMahieu, Carpenter, Bader.
Everybody.
I think that's it. But like the team that they were running out there was like, man, this lineup sucks. Like I remember looking at their lineup against the Twins in a doubleheader, and the only reason I remember Twins is because for other reasons. But I remember looking at the lineup going, this is a lineup the Angels are running out there, and the Yankees are winning games. And it was just because Aaron Judge's numbers were so good and the pitching was so good. Like Garrett Cole did not have like a Garrett Cole year, but he was still freaking good. Nestor Cortez was pitching out of his mind. And the other thing too that the Yankees had that the Angels didn't, the bullpen. Like the bullpen was pitching good. Like they had some hit or miss guys but like when they got Loizaga back and
don't you dare talk bad about Jimmy Herget.
I'm not. Did I mention Jimmy Herget as being bad?
I'm just letting you know.
You know who I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about Aaron Loop and Ryan Tepera, how they were really bad all year. Not worth $8.5 million, and we'll continue to say that until they prove otherwise. But yeah,
You're killing me here.
I know.
With all that being said, I get where you're coming from, and I'm going to kind of shift this just a hair because we just talked about the Mike Trout effect, and not being able to build around Mike Trout. Is this possibly the best lineup the Angels have put out in the Mike Trout era? And I have stats to back up whether you say yes or no.
So I'm going to say no, just because of like the lineup that possibly could have been run out there with Josh Hamilton, Albert Pujols,
year
Mike
Trout. Lineup, whole year lineup, not just like 1 day lineup, just whole year. Like you're looking at this year compared to.
Okay,
I have something here. I got something here. I'm going.
But I'm just going to say it's not fair to say whole year lineup when we haven't played a game and we could be in July and running out the same lineup we ran out last year.
We're talking preseason. We're talking on paper right now. Do we think that this is possibly the best lineup?
I think the lineup that the Angels had on paper going into the year when they signed Josh Hamilton, and they had Albert Pujols and Mike Trout, that lineup with Andrelton Simmons, who would have been about the 7th best hitter in that lineup.
About 2014.
Is that the year?
No.
2014?
I'm just saying, how about 2014? The last time they made it the playoffs. So get this and compare it to what this lineup could possibly be, right? Chris Iannetta behind the plate. You compare him to Logan O'Hoppe. Played, let's see, Iannetta played 108 games at a 123 OPS plus.
That's pretty good.
Logan O'Hoppe, right?
You hope.
You hope for. Albert Pujols at first base, 126 WRC plus.
Yeah.
Do you get that out of the Angels' options at first base?
Probably not, but okay.
Okay. Howie Kendrick.
It depends on who's the first baseman. Like that's the other thing too.
Exactly that. Like you got we already went over this on splits, and Perry Manasian saying that they want to win the splits battles, right? They want to win the I don't know, he didn't say splits battles, but he said platoon battles. He wants to win the platoon battles. That's what Perry said this year, and the Angels have plenty of platoon battles, and we'll talk about that in the coming days and weeks of what we think Perry meant on that side of stuff. But hear me out here. Angels could be a 120 OPS plus guy at first base in a hole. Howie Kendrick at second base, 116 WRC plus or OPS plus. I'm going to continue to say WRC plus, but OPS plus.
Again, who
probably a little bit less. You got David Fletcher there, who's going to probably pull you down a little bit. But if you're a 100 WRC plus guy or OPS plus guy, that's fine. Eric Ibar at shortstop, 103 OPS plus. I think you could possibly
right around
do that
there
with the options.
Yeah, you're probably right around there. Again, it depends on how many games like Levon Soto plays a short, how many games
How
Gio
healthy is he?
Urshela. Yeah, yeah.
Talk to me right now. Stay focused right
I'm
now.
just
I
being
know, me too.
honest.
Me too. I'm being honest too. Right now, though, right now, David Freese at third base, 104 WRC plus. I think if Anthony Rendon is healthy, even if he's not healthy, he's probably going to put that up.
Don't say if he's not healthy, because you'll get that's
Knock,
where all the angry people will come out
knock
at
on
you.
wood. Anthony Rendon is healthy. He was healthy at the end of last year. 104 WOC OPS plus is well within reach for Anthony Rendon.
He did put up 103 last year in an injury season, so yeah,
There
that's
you
probably
go.
fair.
Josh Hamilton, who you already mentioned before, 115
Yep.
OPS plus. You look in who's in left field for the Angels.
Taylor Ward,
Taylor Ward, probably about
probably
that with
right
some
around
regression.
115.
Probably about that at some regression. Mike Trout in center field. It's Mike freaking Trout. We already
Same.
talked about that. 170 OPS plus guy. Cole Calhoun in right field, 123 OPS plus. What is the career OPS plus for Hunter Renfroe?
I think he's like
124.
125.
There you go.
Yeah.
And your DH CJ Crone that year, 111 OPS plus. You have to
You're hoping
imagine
Ohtani's closer to
that
140.
Ohtani is 130, 140. Bench options, because I know we have to talk about it. If we didn't talk about it, then there's that.
Yep.
No, and by the way, did you notice that everybody was above 100
100
OPS
yep.
plus?
That's
Everybody,
how good teams usually are.
100%. And the Angels won most games in baseball that year. We don't.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
want to talk
typically
about.
how it
I
works.
don't want to talk about pitching because we're talking a little Mike Trout effect. I mean, we can talk Shohei Ohtani effect. But coming off the bench, you had Colin Cowgill that year, 99 OPS plus. Hank Conger was your backup catcher. If that's Max Stassi, putting up a 79 OPS plus. I think Stassi might be a little below that, but I think it's similar. You know, an 80 OPS plus could
You're
do
hoping.
the trick there. Raleigh Banez was a 53. You're going to get that from somebody. Efren Navarro and Grant Green. Well, I'm really pulling out some names here. We're both 85, well, 83 and 86. John McDonald, who is
That's your favorite.
who is Brett Wallace. Wallace, not Brett
Brett
Wallace.
Phillips.
Brett Phillips. Who's Brett Wallace? Oh, that's old Astros guy.
Yeah.
You're welcome for that. Why I say Hot Wallace? Angels fans are going to hate me. Yeah, Brett Phillips, 34 OPS plus. Your defensive guy. This lineup offensively, we're not going to look at hitting, but offensively.
You mean pitching?
Yes, I'm off today. I'm sorry. I worked 9 hours, tired. We're getting there though. This lineup offensively looks very similar to that 2014 team. And then, I mean, I got to look at pitching now because this is a very similar.
They were deep.
Yeah, they were very good pitching wise.
Very
and
deep.
I don't think the Angels have that. I mean, if you're running Tyler Skaggs out there as your number 6 guy, I think that was the year that Hector Santiago made the. No, it wasn't. It was not that year. It was C.J. Wilson made the All-Star team that year, and Jared Weaver, I would assume. Weaver was 18-9 with a 3.59. Garrett Richards was 13-4 with a 2.61. Like, even if you look at ERA this year in 2014, it wasn't crazy. They out hit everybody that year. It felt like, you know, you look at it and it's, you know, the Garrett Richards had a 2.61 ERA. That was the best ERA on the staff.
That was also the year that 3.04 though.
That was also the year that Richards got hurt running to first base. So who came in, who pitched for them after?
Probably. Well, so you had Shoemaker,
it had been
Santiago,
Skaggs because you had a
Well, Skaggs made 18 starts. He was pretty good.
Regardless, though, you get what I'm saying there. Like, I know we started talking about the Mike Trout effect, and then I looked up 2014. And I'm going to post this on Twitter right after this. Look up the 2014 team, and offensively, it looks, honestly, in general, you know what's going to be the biggest difference is going to be the bullpen. When you look at it, it really will. And I mean, obviously, the team's got to stay healthy, but I mean, I don't know. I don't mean to get everybody hyped up or anything like that. And I know this will get everybody hyped up. And Nate, I know you're you know, negative Nate about all this stuff, and it's fine. I know you're not negative. We're just trying to be truthful.
This team was healthy. The team was healthy and they pitched. Like,
yeah. Yep.
That's the biggest thing. It's like you can dream on whatever it is. We're January 13th right now. Okay. We have no idea who's going to be healthy.
No,
right?
I agree.
Absolutely no idea. And on this team that you brought up, the Angels had just signed Josh Hamilton in 2013, so he was coming off his first real year as an Angel. He had a pretty good year. Pujols was 38 probably, if you're really honest with yourself, but he's probably only about 34, 33, so he's still kind of in that prime. So they had really, really good players on this team that stayed healthy. And like, not that the Angels don't have really good players, but
They gotta stay healthy.
those guys were coming off healthy seasons and they were going to stay healthy. Like that's the biggest thing. Like, I think the next year is when Pujols had the really bad the foot issue right after this year, and that's when it really started to go downhill for him. But yeah, how healthy can this team stay? Sure, this team can win. Every team going into every season can win a lot of games. The key to every season is who's going to. Last year, you said the Baltimore Orioles were finishing last, okay, and they finished with a better record than the Angels.
You're telling
What
me that the
happened?
Pittsburgh Pirates going into next season have a chance against
Sure,
Central?
sure.
Not giving it to
If
you.
they, I mean, they're in a bad Central, so who knows?
You're right.
But you said Baltimore Orioles were going to finish last year with the worst record in baseball. You were on the record. You said it multiple times. Why were they able to win so many games? They stayed healthy.
Well, they had fun. They had fun there, man. Like you've been in a club. You've been in a clubhouse like that has no.
But what I'm getting to, they stayed healthy and they had guys step up, right? You were like, hey, is Adley Rutschman going to make the team this year? You're hoping, right? And
that's what
not
good
even
teams do.
In your wildest dreams, are you thinking Adley Rutschman puts up those kind of numbers and like is that impactful for the pitching staff? Probably not. Are you thinking that Odor is going to play a big role on that team? Are you thinking that they're going to call up Stowers and he's going to play like? And they lost John Means, and it was like, okay, well, who cares? Like, so that's the kind of thing that the Angels need. They need a team that's going to stay relatively healthy. Like, I'm not saying they can't have an injury or two. Everyone's going to have an injury or two. They need to stay relatively healthy, and they need certain guys to step up. Like, you just need a couple guys that's like, hey, if everyone puts up what you're expecting to, if everyone puts up like the 110 to 115, and then you have the Ohtani, the Trouts, and maybe the Renfro that put up the 130 to 150, Trout puts up his 190 or whatever. And Rendon puts up his 120, 130. That would be fine if everyone else puts up a 105 and stays relatively healthy. But that's been the biggest thing is, can this team stay healthy, and do they have enough depth at key positions to win baseball games? Like, yes, they have depth this year. What have I been super upset about? Two things. They don't have enough pitching,
and Andrew Velasquez.
And they don't have a dang shortstop, right? Like, do we really want to be running David Fletcher out there every day for 162 games? I know some people would. But if you're trying to win a World Series and honestly just trying to make the playoffs, is David Fletcher the answer to a team if he puts up an 88 to 94 WRC plus and plays very average defense? Like, that's probably not the answer. So what happens if Rengifo gets hurt? What happens? Like, are we starting Gio Urshela at shortstop? Are we starting Brandon Drury at shortstop, who really wants to play shortstop? Are we going to Livan Soto? And if Livan Soto's the guy, he's one of those guys that's going to need to take that next step and be that guy that's like, wow, he has stepped up. He has been a huge, huge success for this team. That is what this Angels team needs. And then, like I said, they need one more pitcher, but you talk about it all the time. We get to July and the Angels are still in it. Maybe they have a prospect or two that they're willing to get rid of to go get a pitcher to help this team. But that's what it's going to take. Can you stay healthy? And what are you going to do if somebody key gets hurt up the middle? That's my biggest question. Is Livan Soto good enough to play 3 months straight at shortstop and put up a 115 WRC plus, 110 WRC plus? Is Gio Urshela good enough to play shortstop every single day and keep the pitching staff off the mound? Like, is he going to make plays to impact the team defensively? Is Brandon Drury good enough to play shortstop? Like, these are the questions that need to be answered. Like, I'm not trying to be negative about this team. I'm really not. But the most important positions in baseball are up the middle. I mention this all the time: shortstop, center field, pitcher, catcher. They've always been strong in center field. We're hoping they are strong behind the dish. I'm hopeful. I think Ohtani could be really, really good. We don't know how good they're going to be at shortstop, and we don't know how good they're going to be on the mound.
Sure, and I'll give you that. I will. I'll get my hopes up though. With that being said, guys, we are not negative. Nate is not negative. Realistic. Just remember that. Realistic. And then when, Angels get into July and they're playing well, show it in our face. It's fine. Well, I don't care. We'll be the first ones to say we were wrong. That is the one thing.
I would rather be. I just want them to prove me wrong. 100%. Like that. I would rather be that guy to say, hey, they're going to win 82 games and then watch them win 92 games. Yeah, man, you guys were way wrong. I do not love being right about saying they're going to win 76 games. Jared hates when I'm right too, because then he has to hear about it more. So,
with that being said, though, Nate, you're never right. Guys, you can
76 2 years ago, but it's fine.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast here at Talking Halos again, making us the best Angels podcast out there again. If you could subscribe wherever you are listening or watching us. What's up, YouTube? Go ahead and drop a subscription, drop a follow. You can follow myself on Twitter at Jared_Tim's, Nate at Nate Green 34, guys. And thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day.